talked about at the end of spring ball just how you manufactured hard.
Yes, I get it.
How much trust do you have in a lot, I'm sure, and Coach Caden and his staff are doing the same thing for the summer to see the type of transformations we've seen last winter and before?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm almost, by the time you get to the end of spring practice, you're almost like thrilled to give them to that staff. I think just what you've seen in 18 months from his staff, and us being so young, and us continuing to grow up. I think one area you can see youth grow is physically, and I think there's a whole nother revolution, even in this 12-week period before we get back to August that I think is so critical for our football team. You just can't miss that step. And so I think by the time we got to the spring game, we were ready for all of those guys to get to the weight room. But it's been even really good last 3 weeks. Our guys go home now until the Memorial Day Monday, and then we'll get them back in Memorial Day Monday and kind of start our 8-week block in the summer. So we're excited to get them back.
Health-wise, I know you said there were a lot of like day-to-day, week-to-week things in the spring. Can you kind of update on that? Any specific guys or?
Yeah, I think we're in a really good spot. As I said, Carson was the only guy that was a season-ending injury. I think, our expectation is to be going into fall camp full strength, and honestly, my expectation is to be coming back in really the end of May and really being a full-strength football team, and that part's really exciting too, because I think it goes into, Rob's question of, man, if you are full strength, then you can actually gain great value from your kids in the weight room, and we're in a really good spot that way.
In a world where continuity basically doesn't exist in this sport, what do you guys have, and how valuable is it that, from a roster standpoint, it looks a lot similar to last year?
Yeah, I just think it's huge. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we could compete any other way. We're going to have to, and I know I said this at the beginning of my tenure here, recruit great players. We better do a great job retaining those players, and then, hopefully we do a great job developing them. And, I'm grateful every rotation that we get, from the end of the season to the winter, man, that those guys have stayed, and from the winter to now going into the fall, that those guys have stayed. And I think it says a lot about the character of the young men that we have. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that can go do a lot more things financially than what they're doing here. But I think it says a lot about what they believe in, and certainly who they believe in, and I think they believe in each other a lot too. And I'm really grateful for that, and that's a great start to team building, to be quite honest.
Not to compare the 2020 and 21 team to this team, but in terms of just understanding, just because you were good last year and you're all coming back, that doesn't guarantee much.
Yeah.
Anything. Is there anything to learn or to be used from that?
Well, I think as much to be learned as for the head coach. There's a lot that I would say in 2020 and 21 that I could have done a better job, in some of those gaps of, time frames to lead the football team. So I think you're always learning, you're always growing, and I do think it is a very different team. We're just so young. If you remember, that team was, 6 and 7 year players, so you were trying to fit almost a perfect square peg in a round hole, and it was tough. But I think this group's still so young, and I don't think anybody feels like they've arrived. I think they, obviously when you don't win your last football game, that's almost a great motivator going into the off season. But I also think it's a group that's very confident that at their best and what they have the ability to do when they have the ability to be their best. And so they've tasted some of those successes, and that part's really rewarding.
To jump back a few questions, the concept of the want to stay, how much of an advantage is that when you are in a mode where you every year constantly have to re-recruit your roster?
And I've always said, even with the transfer portal, I've always believed that the transfer portal's never scared me, because to me it's culture, right? Like, our responsibility is to build a culture that 18 to 22 year olds want to have the ability to come and grow, not just on the field but off the field, and become their best. Football coaching is still teaching. I know we've lost our way a million miles away from it, but it's like we're still growing up young men into men. And I still love that part of it, and I still think that is a huge part of it. Obviously, we're playing a sport that's uber competitive and making a lot of money for every university and every person, but there's still this unbelievable growth process, especially in football. You're talking a group of 130 players, 18 to 22 year olds, compared to a roster of 12 or 15. It's just a different animal. So, I think for us, it's been really rewarding to maybe build that culture where kids believe in that, parents believe in that, and certainly believe in us. So we're really appreciative of that.
The NIL thing, obviously, huge topic and everything, but I mean, you guys are off to one of the best starts to a recruiting class. I know you can't talk about any guys in particular, but what is it about the messaging, and especially in state, you've got 4 top 10 guys so far.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think we've ever really tried to waver on how we recruit. I think try to be very upfront and honest. College football is really hard. Man, our program has always been really hard when we've been at our best. It's not going to be real easy here, but there are a lot of things that we are really proud of as well in terms of coming in here, developing you to be your best and hold you accountable into a standard of excellence and have a chance to win championships. And that's something that, we've been able to do some really unique things in that area, but trying to be able to get our program to sustain that. I think that's where we're heading, and that's certainly what we're aiming for. So that's really been the selling point for us.
Your thoughts on the helmet communication coming?
Yeah, really, honestly, I think it's going to be fascinating. I spent a lot of my time, even the last couple of weeks, into different NFL camps and different NFL teams, and just really trying to, we're really becoming the NFL game, at least in clock management now, and certainly communication. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time. I think what you learn is you can't get drowned in it. You got to use it to your advantage and be efficient with it, but I think it can't consume you either. And so I think we'll have a really good plan for it. It's been something we've really tried to study here this offseason. And, I think offensively, the ability to communicate at least situational things to the quarterback, huge. And then defensively, it is a little different than the NFL. Everybody's playing no huddle, so how much value are you going to get? How do you use that to the best of your ability? We'll figure that out along the way. I do think one of the bigger things nobody's talking about is the tablets on the sideline, and I think that is different. You're talking about from the NFL, it's a still photo, and in college football, it's going to be a video loop that's going to go. And so, how do you use that? How can you help make a great in-game adjustment? Are those some things that will be valuable to our coaches and certainly maybe our players, even in things like halftime? I think those things will be really big.
Do you think, will there be more huddling?
In the Big 12, no. In normal football, in normal football, yes.
Okay.
I think, again, you can huddle some more, and that's another way. I think every college coach in America I've heard, man, they want to have a headset in everybody's helmet. But the reality is, the answer is just what you said, huddle. And so, and some people want to do that, and some people don't. But I do think that's certainly an advantage you can have if you're worried about somebody picking your signals or giving away signals. Then you can get in a huddle and be able to call an offensive play for sure.
Are defensive coaches disappointed that they're not going to have an opportunity to crack any codes and the legal way, not the Ann Arbor style?
Yeah, right. Man, what a great question. But again, I think what you'll find is that there's still going to have to be a lot of communication, and however that signaling gets to receivers, and if you want to play tempo, man, the quarterback, you can't just sit there and you can't just communicate to the quarterback. So I still think, the hand signals, all the things are I don't think that'll drastically change our game. Like I said, I still think the biggest thing that's going to happen is these tablets and maybe how that gives you the ability to make great in-game adjustments.
As one of maybe the most popular coach that does this, what to you is the value in getting out to around the state and being able to connect with the fans?
I think the still biggest thing I would say is again, we talk NIL and all this stuff. Like, the greatest thing about our place has been this fan base that has been just the foundation building block to TJ's program and Bill's program and our program and Christy's program. And I mean, that has been a foundational building block, and it's what's made it really rewarding to be the head football coach here and represent our university, is because we do have a great fan base, and to be able to get out, interact, and certainly show a sense of great appreciation for what they do for us, it's awesome.
You been to any St. Louis Battlehawk games at
No,
all? Or
no,
watched
but
those
no,
guys?
I've been watching them. They should be they should be slash Cyclones, right? With how those guys are playing. I mean, honestly, what Akeem's doing and Mike's doing right now, and Willie. Those three are playing great football, and so I did tell Rocco's dad, we deserve a little bit of cut of any winning percentage he gets. That man should donate it to the NIL collective.
Well, he was his OC in high school, right? His senior year?
Yeah,
Anthony was?
Anthony was, yeah. And Anthony's done a great job. And actually, Bruce Gradkowski was a Toledo quarterback and really good friend of ours. So, yeah, we got a lot of relationships there on that Battlehawk team. So, myself and the Campbell boys, that's our weekend guilty pleasure right now, is watching those guys play. So it's been really fun.
One more pro question. What kind of value are the Ravens getting in TJ Tampa, who dropped, I think, farther than anybody projected?
Yeah, I think you guys have got to see TJ grow even in our program. I think the biggest thing for TJ is fit. And, sometimes you can worry where you get drafted. I always worry who's drafting you. And, to me, that's probably the greatest gift that TJ got, is he went to probably the top organization that fits him, his style of play, the ability to be around some great veterans to learn from. But I think he's just such a great fit for that organization and a team that's got a chance to compete to go to the Super Bowl. And, I think you look at his situation, and as disappointing sometimes as maybe that value, is it really where you want to start? Man, none of it's about how you start in the National Football League. It's can you stay? And if you can get around the right people and certainly put yourself in the best position, then you got a great chance to stay. And I think TJ's in the best spot he could have been in.
Along the same lines, Dimitri went to a tryout last week with the Packers and earned his spot with them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm really happy for Dimitri. Dimitri is a guy that came here and certainly has got great skill sets. He can run. He's got really great hands, and a guy that kind of, I think, probably softly for other times made some really big plays and some big moments over the last 2 years. So proud of him, and obviously a great opportunity for him.
All right.